Hello everyone and welcome to GT Academy round 3. We're at Spa and we're in something quite unique for GT Academy. We're in an LMP2 car, specifically the Greaves Nissan LMP2 car. And this combination is sort of similar to last year's final round where we're in the GTR GT3 at Spa. But obviously we're going to have a little bit more downforce, there's going to be a bit more acceleration. Generally there's a bit less sliding, so a lot of people will like that, and you don't actually have to slide at all on this lap really to get in the 207s, which is way up there in the top 250. So you know, if you don't want to slide, you don't have to slide. If you want to slide, you know, go for it. As I've said before, sliding obviously is a little bit extreme in Gran Turismo, but it does happen in real life. So the fact that we use real driving techniques to make it happen as well, you know, it's not all bad. Yes, it's a little bit arcadey, but we're using trail braking, we're using weight transfer, we're using all the little bits which happen in real life. So what we're going to do, as we've done on the other two guides and in guides in the past, we're going to do a bit of a slow-mo lap, go through each corner, just explain some braking markers, what to do, what not to do and things like that. And then we'll go into a quick lap and I'll explain it in a quick fashion, a bit like Martin Brundle. And then that guide will be there for you. So as I said, it's round 3, so we've only got one more guide after this. So I'm going to explain a few things in a couple of different videos this week as we go into the last one. A bit like why do I use a Ghost, and a bit of a comparison between me and rank 1, just to show you what I'm thinking when I do watch replays and stuff like that. But let's kick off this round 3 guide. So the first things that we do is we cross the line. Normally I aim for 110. That's a perfect start. If you don't get 110, just don't worry about it too much, but 110 is the main aim, and that's mainly how you do the last corner. So as we come up into the first corner, La Source, you can't see it on as I pause this, just the way the colours contrast on what I'm using to play this, but there is, as you will have noticed, an orange little marker between the 100 and the 50, and I brake just before that. Now the Ghost brakes even earlier than that and trail brakes a lot more. I brake later and try and trail brake the last second, try and get into the corner, and I trail brake right into the apex. Now this is where I gain a lot of time on the Ghost, so if you are one of the super aliens trying to gain a little bit of time, La Source is a really good place to get it. Well, I found, especially versus this, so it's something to play around with. Now there's two ways to do La Source. As I said before, you don't have to slide, and then as it's a sharp corner, getting a bit of rotation is actually worthwhile doing to get out the corner quicker. So if you don't want to slide, you're just going to progress down the gears as normal. So as you brake, you can go 5th, 4th, 3rd and 2nd, and just do it so you're hitting, you know, mid-range. You're not hitting the limiter or anything like that. And as you come into the corner, you just trail brake, go around the corner and accelerate out. And do be careful on the exit because you will get oversteer in 2nd gear, but I'll explain the exit in a second. Now if you're after the supreme times, you don't mind rotating the car and things like that, here's how you rotate the car. So as you come into the corner, you're going to go 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then as you start to come off the brakes, you're going to drop to 1st. Now if you went 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st straight away, the car is just going to go over rotate straight away and you'll just spin out. The way you want to rotate the car is in a controlled way. So as you come to 2nd, you're still braking, still braking, still braking, and then as you start to come off the brakes, you'll hit 1st, you'll get a bit of rotation in the car, and as soon as you've got enough of the rotation that you want, you're going to hit 2nd again and then accelerate through and control it basically. If you hit 2nd straight away and floor it, you will keep spinning the car and you'll just spin out. So you do have to be careful of that. So let's watch that now and then I'll explain it a bit more as we exit the corner. So as you'll see now, brake 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then as I start to trail brake there, 1st straight to 2nd there, get the rotation I want, and now look at that, I was just controlling that 3/4 throttle, making sure I get it, then straight to 3rd. Something to note with the exit, as I mentioned a little bit before, the longer you stay in 2nd, the more risk you have of spinning the tyres up and essentially losing time. But if you manage to not spin the tyres up at all and you hit the maximum sort of ratio of that gear, of 2nd gear, it's actually the fastest way out of that corner. So I always try and aim to get the maximum out of it, just because I'm trying to aim for the top times. Now if you're struggling with oversteer, just go to 3rd. There's a lot of power in the lower end of this car in the rev range, so don't worry about going like early shifting, up shifting early, and just accelerating out, just so you make sure you can keep up with a good lap. There's no point risking a lap if you're really far behind, because the best way to improve any lap is consistency. So if you get the consistency right, and then you can start improving and taking a bit more risk. So that's La Source. So there was two ways to do that. There was obviously flicking it down to first, getting that bit of rotation, or just staying in second. So now we're going to be approaching Eau Rouge. Just to note as well, actually, if you're not using a ghost, sorry, this is sort of a split time that I use as a time reference point, especially when I'm ahead of the ghost. Is this line here? So essentially, I want to hit this at 17 seconds. I'm just a little bit behind the ghost, so I haven't done that in time. So Eau Rouge. Now, Eau Rouge is an interesting one. I've called the whole section Eau Rouge. Obviously, some of these corners have different names, but this is when someone says Eau Rouge, I just think of the left, the right, and then the top of the hill as well. So the main part of this that we want to focus on is actually the right hand corner, essentially the longest corner in this part. Now obviously we've got the cones on the left at the bottom and at the top, which essentially means that we can't minimize the angle as well as we want to, but that's our aim for Eau Rouge. We want to minimize the angle of the corner as much as we can. So you can see the racing line going up there. You've got the sort of lighter line. That's a racing line, and that's the line we want to take. There's more grip on that line. If you take that through the corner, you'll be able to maintain more speed. But I'm going to go slightly to the left of this to begin with on the corner, just to reduce the angle. I'm then going to go onto the racing line and aim for the cones. Hopefully miss them. You can touch the curbing and it should be fine. Just don't stay on the curbing because it'll unstable the car and you'll get a bit oversteery at the top. But as you're halfway through the corner, you're going to want to start releasing the steering. Essentially, the best way to think about this is, in a drag race, it's always in a straight line because that's the only way to get faster. You can't go faster if you're turning than if you're going in a straight line. So as we're going up this corner, and obviously as it's uphill as well, we're going to be losing speed. So the quicker we can straighten the car up, the less amount of speed we'll lose going up the hill, and that's our aim essentially. So as I said, as we come into this, we're going to go to the left hand side of the racing line. So we'll just watch that now. As you can see, I'm to the left there. Go any more to the left, you're at risk of invalidating your lap. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start aiming for the cones and hopefully just clip that curb. As you can see, I'm now to the right of the racing line. At this point, you'll notice that the ghost is still turning and I've straightened up. Now this is a bit of a judgment that you will sort of learn as you keep doing the laps and laps and laps when to straighten up. So you see there, I straighten up, I just miss the cones on the left and I come out of the corner. You can use a lot of the exit on the right hand side and it won't invalidate your lap. If you use too much you might spin the car, so just beware of that. And then we're on Kemmel straight and we can just accelerate to the end of the first split. Now the first split is literally those two corners, and I have been a tenth up on the ghost, so I've been ahead of this ghost. There is time there. La Source and Eau Rouge is an absolute ton. So as we come down Kemmel straight, we're about to hit Les Combes. And again, I'm just going to call it the group of corners essentially. We've got the right, the left and then the right. And our braking marker for this is the 100-meter board on the left hand side. It's literally like a couple of meters just before the curbing starts. Now some people will use the curbing, I use the brake marker board, and you can actually brake just a little bit into the curbing as well. So the reason I brake earlier is because you want more of a controlled entrance to this whole corner section of corners rather than a really aggressive one, because you've got the right hand corner where you want to stay tight to just give you a good angle to stay tight for the left hander, and then the final corner, which is again a right hander, that's where you want to gain all the time and the speed, because then you've got a bit of an acceleration period before you get to Bruxelles. So that's our aim here. So if we brake a little bit earlier, we can just get a bit of control. Now as we brake, we're going to trail brake into the corner as well. Try and aim for the cones, and we want to touch the curbing on both sides. Now on this ghost, we don't touch both the curbs, we only touch one of them. On a perfect lap, you'll touch both, because that means essentially you're being dragged around the corner and you can stay on a tight line. So let's just watch that now. So there's a 100-meter board, we brake, forward. Notice the ghost gets ahead, I now start trail braking in, and I take that perfectly. That's where I want to be. I then want to start turning left. I just missed the apex there. You've got to be careful of the cones anyway. And then I'm now trying to get to the left to go for the right straight away. Now there's something to note with this right hander. You'll notice I've went off the throttle and I've just come back on. I'm about to balance it. Now if you hit the curb in here, or if you turn a bit too early, you're going to run wide. Turn a bit late, you're going to run wide. So you want to stay in third gear as long as possible until you know you're going to make the corner, and then hit fourth, except, and this is where the confusion comes in, you'll stay in third to make the corner, except when you hit the curb on the right hand side, when you'll then jump to fourth, because if you stay in third you will oversteer and spin out straight away. So that's what you'll see me do, but I also balance the throttle to make sure I get round as well. So you'll see me just come off the throttle a little bit, because I know I'm just going to run a little bit wide, so then jump back on it straight away, and I don't lose any time at all, because what I'm doing there is I'm just making sure I get round. If I lose half a tenth, who cares, I'm going to still make it around the corner, on for a good lap still. So as you can see there, fourth gear, just off, went to half throttle and back on, and I made the corner quite happily there. Now you can run a little bit further wide. The only time you then got to worry about invalidating your lap is where the ghost is about now. That's when it'll start invalidating your lap if you're too far to the left, but at that point as well you're in the gravel anyway. So that's Lake Home. Basically it's that last part of that section that you really want to nail, because the other two you just want to stay really tight, stay in third gear. Third gear is really useful in this car. It seems to give you a lot of turning, and you can maintain a lot of speed in third gear, so I'll be using that in the rest of the lap anyway. So as we come up to Bruxelles, I think that's how you say it anyway, this is again is an interesting corner. So you can actually brake really early, so you can brake it to start the curb in where the ghost is about now, and it starts braking and trail braking quite happily. For me here, it's actually better to be really aggressive. So what you'll see me do is you'll see me brake after the curbing starts, but then you're going to see me trail brake like halfway around the corner, up to a point where I know I'm going to make it round. And again, like at La Source, I'm going to drop to second gear rather than first this time, second gear. And because I'm trail braking, I'm going to get rotation in the rear of the car, and then I'm going to jump to third, and I'm going to try and maintain that rotation all the way around. I don't quite do it on this, maintain it all the way around, but what that will do is it'll just mean I'll keep up the speed, the momentum, and I'll just get around the corner a little bit quicker. As I said before, you don't have to slide if you drop to third gear and just stay in third gear all the way around here. You will get a bit of understeer, but you don't have to slide, and you can still get 207. So let's just watch that now. So just after the curbing starts, I brake. Notice now third, trail braking, still trail braking. Second, get that rotation, straight to third. Now I'm going to try and maintain it, just dropping on and off the throttle to try and get the wheel spinning up a little bit, and then I've made it round. So I haven't lost too much time there. Now as we approach this corner, it gets a bit tricky. This is all about judgment. Now you want to have started turning before the barrier goes to the red and white anyway. But generally speaking, I'm in fourth gear. I'm going to drop to third gear and turn in. My aim is to sort of just miss the cones. Never aim for the cones in this car, because you will hit the cones. It doesn't understeer as much as that, as the GTR GT3 did. But again, like on Eau Rouge and at the Pouhon, we want to hit the curbing, because the curbing will just bring us around a little bit. And again, it's the third gear sort of use. You know, we can get enough turning with third gear. Can then jump to fourth gear and accelerate away. As I said, it's about judgment. So as you can see there, I turned in just before the barrier change. I'm in third gear, straight to fourth gear because I've hit the curbing. I can accelerate out, and I've actually got a bit more room on the right hand side that I could use, so you can use that, but I've not needed to. But again, you're going to want to be a bit aggressive there to maintain enough speed as you go down to Pouhon. Now as you can see there, barrier is a bit of a nice time reference point. You're looking to get there before 105 if you're an alien. You know, the aliens in brackets or quotes, but otherwise that's a good time reference point to know if you're doing well or not if you're not using the ghost. So let's accelerate to Pouhon, and we'll just stop it there. You know, you can just see the blackness in the barrier on the right hand side. Now, unlike pretty much every other corner I've ever done in a guide, really, actually, we're going to start turning before we start braking. And the reason for this is we're not going to actually scrub off that much speed, but we still want to make the apex. And because this car's got a lot of downforce, you can gain an absolute ton of time here. And we have a turning marker, so you know it's a ton of time that we can consistently make each time. Now obviously, depending on what you did on the last corner, depends on how much speed you get to here and how much speed you take round. So sometimes you might understeer a little bit, sometimes you might miss the apex slightly. Don't worry too much about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start turning in, and we're just going to trail brake, and trail brake ever so slightly. Basically, we don't want to trail brake up to like 125 miles an hour, and then we're just going to like roll the rest of the speed off. So let's watch that now. So you'll see me turn in and look at the trail braking. I've let go at 125. I've dropped a bit too much there. I normally don't want to drop below 118, but as you can see versus the Ghost, it's still fine. I nearly hit the cones there. I had my heart stopped there for a second when I did that, and then I accelerated through. Be careful on the exit of Pouhon, because literally if you go anywhere near that, it will spin you straight out to the other side of the track. As you can see, I lost a little bit of time, but I didn't lose too much, so I'm still on for a good lap. You know, it's all about being consistent, and we've got a good turning point for Pouhon there. We're trail braking ever so slightly. We're just trying to scrub off enough speed so that we don't understeer off, but maintain enough speed so we can keep accelerating round, because it is a long acceleration period. It's a big long area to accelerate. So we're going to come up to campus now. We have the right hander and the left hander, and essentially our braking point here is, if I just let it play a little bit, is just after this sign essentially. So you'll see the sign pass and then you brake. So basically, as soon as you see the sign hit the top of the screen, hit your brake, and we're going to want to turn in really late. Now normally on a corner you'll want to turn in quite early. This one like draws you in to turn early, but because you're going a bit over 90 degrees, the corner, you can see it on the map, it's a bit over 90. You want to do it late, and as we're going straight into a left hander after that, you're aiming to be on the right side of the track. So if you turn in late, it's a late apex, you'll then be on the right side of the track for the left hander, and that's where we want to be for this. So as I said, we'll brake. Again, we're going to drop to third gear, we'll start trail braking, and now we're just going to maintain the speed. So I always try and stay as close as I can to 90. It wasn't the best here, but it's not too bad. And then straight into the left hander, stay in third gear. Now as soon as I clip the curb there, I hit fourth gear. As you can see, I'm balancing on and off the throttle, a bit like I did at Bruxelles, and at Lacombe as well. And basically all that means is I'm just trying to make sure the car gets round. If you go over that curb, you're going to spin out again, because of the weight transfer of the car. Obviously it's a big old curb that you're on the right side. Try and put it off, you're just going to chuck it over to the other side of the track. So the third gear, fourth gear thing again happens on that corner there at campus on the left hand side. We're just trying to hit the curb in, hit fourth gear, and then just make sure we get round. Now as we come to Stavelot, we need to be super aggressive here, like ridiculously aggressive, basically because after here we're flat out up until the bus stop chicane, which is, you know, it's basically 30 seconds 25 seconds of the lap, so you're full on all the way around. So essentially my braking point is the start of this curb in. Usually I brake to third gear and I start to trail brake straight away. Now I completely missed the apex there, but it's not too bad. I get a bit more rotation than I wanted there, but again, it's not too bad. You can get a bit tighter and just accelerate a tiny bit earlier and make it a bit more clean. You'll be faster, but again, you just drop into third gear and trying to accelerate round. You might want to change to fourth gear if you're suffering with a bit of oversteer on the exit of Stavelot, which is very much possible. But as we leave Stavelot, we're going to be ending sector 2. Now sector 2 is a massive sector, so you might want to break that down. And a good way to break it down is obviously sector 1 ends just before Lacombe. So do Lacombe, do Bruxelles, and then the corner afterwards, and then that barrier I mentioned about the 105, call that sector 2, and then from there Pouhon and campus and Stavelot, call that sector 3, which is where we're going to end up now. And then we're going to do our final sector, which is all the way to start finish line. So let's do that now. This corner you want to turn in really early, earlier than you think. It will keep you dragged in and you'll maintain more speed. If you miss the apex at all there and don't stay on the racing line, you're going to just understeer off and you'll drop to like 120 mile an hour rather than be at 125 on the exit curb. So you do have to be careful of that. But just turn in a bit earlier. You know, you can sort of dab the steering a little bit, so you can do right, straight, right, straight, right, straight on the steering wheel, and you should still make the corner. So as you come up to Blanchimont, again, a bit like we did with the last corner, what you can do is you can just sort of be on the left hand side of the racing line here and just turn in a little bit early. Yes, it's not the fastest way round, but you're still going to make it round. Whereas if you miss the racing line completely or touch the grass on the right side, you've ruined your lap essentially. I stay to the right hand side obviously because I'm going for quick laps now, but essentially all I'm doing is turning in. It's flat out and you're just aiming to just miss the cones. As you can see there, it grips. Don't use any of the exit at all there. The minute you touch that green stuff, it will invalidate your lap. We're about to come up to the bus stop chicane. Now, can't tell on this where I've paused it here, it's a bit unfortunate, but we've got the 150 meter board on the left, then the orange, and then the 100 meter board, and there's like a little dent in the barrier. So as we go through the fast lap, I'll show you that as well. But essentially that's our brake marker. That's my brake marker. You can brake a bit later, brake a little bit before and just trail brake in. But the Stop Chicane is where there's a lot of time lost. Now when I was first doing the laps, I was losing half a second here every single time, until I found this sort of brake marker. So I use this now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop to second gear. Now a bit like La Source and Bruxelles, you can slide the car here. So to slide the car in this Stop Chicane, you'll drop to first gear. If not, you'll stay in second gear and you can just get around. Now interestingly, I slide the car a little bit and I stay in second gear here, but that's just because I'm braking a little bit earlier. So again, like the others, I'm just going to brake, fourth gear, third gear, second gear, and I'll start to trail brake towards the apex. I nail that really well. I'll nail that like the best I've done there really. Again, I'm going to stay in second gear for the next bit. I'm just on and off the throttle constantly. This car's got a lot of downforce, so it can handle this and accelerate out. Be careful of wheel spin. Again, like we did with La Source or anywhere else, change to third gear if you're suffering with any oversteer on the exit. And then all you got to do is cross the start finish line. So that's a 207.263, my fastest lap for the first week. And we're going to the fast lap now. So we're going to come up to La Source. Remember, it's the orange bit on the left hand side. Brake just before that, and there we go. You can slide the car as we do. First gear straight to second gear, and then third gear if you're struggling with oversteer, or stay in second gear if you want to try and maintain as much speed as you can. Going up to Eau Rouge, we want to straighten this corner as much as we can because we're going uphill as well. So go to the left of the racing line here, come across to the right hand side of it and straighten up as early as you can, just missing the cones on the left hand side. Use the exit on the right as much as that as you want, because it won't invalidate your lap. That's set to on straight away, but as we come up to the cone, we're going to brake at the 100 meter board, trail brake into the right hand side. We're going to stay tight on the right, tight on the left, get a good exit on the final corner of this section. So as you can see there, we stayed tight to the left and then straight to the right, on and off the throttle just to make sure we get around the corner. Accelerate through down to Bruxelles. Bruxelles, we're going to brake just after the start of the curbing and be aggressive. We're going to trail brake for at least half the corner, straight to second gear to get a bit of rotation, third gear again to keep the rotation, and then down to third gear here. We want to just touch the curb, get a bit of grip, fourth gear, accelerate out as we head to Pouhon. Pouhon, we want to turn just before we start braking, use the black mark on the right side, brake, turn in, trail brake a little bit, stop at 125 miles an hour and start to accelerate round. Keep the throttle on all the way around, just be careful of the exit. As we come up to campus, brake just after the sign. We're going to trail brake in and turn in quite late. We want to stay tight on the right so we get a good corner for the left-hander. Just touch the curbing if you can, change to fourth gear if you touch the curbing, accelerate round. As we come up to Stavelot, be very aggressive, third gear straight down and accelerate as hard as you can, as early as you can. Now stay tight here for the right-hander, try and stay on the racing line, get more grip there, and then we're going to race towards Blanchimont. Here's where we can breathe a bit now, we can see where we are on our lap. Just get a good judgment, we've got to make sure we get this right. If you're going to risk it, stay to the right here for Blanchimont, otherwise stay to the left of the racing line, turn in, try and be really aggressive there. Don't be aggressive on the exit because you'll lose lap time. And there's the dint there, just as that stops there, brake, fourth gear, third gear, second gear, first gear if you want a bit more rotation, stay in second gear for the second part and accelerate out, change to third gear if you need to. And that's basically a lap of the Spa GT Academy round 3. Whew. And breathe. I'll show you a little bit of the outside camera. I didn't do that last time, but you can see how close I get to the cones. You can see there the bit of the rotation, a bit of tyre smoke there, so you get a good idea of where the rotation is. If you do have any questions with regards to this round, I don't really explain driving techniques as much anymore in these guides because I've explained them in all the others, so if you do have any questions, let me know. Road to GT Academy. Oof, look how close that was to those cones. But Road to GT Academy has all the sort of driving techniques in there. I may look at some more in the future just to go over it a bit more, but you know, you get the general idea. But look how close I'm getting to these cones. I will need to be a bit closer on the left hand side there at the cone, and those cones you may hit quite a lot because you're aiming for them essentially to get around that corner. It's a very tough corner, that one. Bruxelles, you don't go anywhere near the cones really. You might go near them here if you keep the rotation or get a really good one. This corner you have to be quite aggressive, again close to the cones. I think the cones are in the perfect place here really. Brands Hatch, they were a bit close. Silverstone were perfect as well. Pouhon you can see here, just out. And do you remember before I said about my heart stopping essentially? Look how close I get there. That is so close. You don't have to be that close there at Pouhon. Coming into campus. We're nice and tidy through there. Just missed the apex here a little bit, but it's not too bad. We still make it around. We slightly touch the curb. Stavelot, we miss the apex. This is where we lose quite a bit of time, but we can still be quite aggressive. It doesn't matter too much there. It's this corner is a big one, you know. You might not think it because there's no braking, but if you understeer there, you lose so much time on the way to Blanchimont. It's ridiculous. So do make sure you get that corner right. But at this point, it gets nice and easy because Blanchimont is actually really easy in this car. Straight round. Don't want to drop below 163 really there. And then as we come up to the final bit of the chicane, that's the lap from the third eye camera. So I hope you've enjoyed this guide to GT Academy Round 3. Any questions, again, fire them away in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you for the final round, round 4.